Look, y'all, look. We gotta wait an extra day for Ravens football. Okay, so we gotta jump into this Ravens Tampa Bay Buccaneers preview. A familiar foe for the Ravens as Lamar Jackson takes on Baker Mayfield, who we know has dotted up a really good defense in the past. So let's see how this defense fares. Of course, you got Mark Andrews, and the discussion has been lately: is he underrated? Is he not playing as well as old Mark Andrews? Should you even consider trading one of the top tight ends in the league, if not, depending on who you ask, the best tight end in the league? And also, lastly, we got to talk about these trade targets. Speaking of trades, we got to talk about these trade targets. Who should the Ravens go after right now in a trade to make this team better? Are they good as they are? Of course they are. But at the same time, we got to think, all right? We got to think, is there something missing on this Ravens team that could put them at the top? That and much more right here on the Be More Shoe. The Be More Shoe? The Be More Shoe. Y'all, the Be More Shoe. Look, okay, all that and much more on the Be More Show. Stay tuned. Come on back and we're going to, y'all get your popcorn, get your drink. We're going to come on back. We're going to talk about all things Baltimore Ravens right here on the Be More Shoe. All right, welcome into the Be More Show, not shoe. Okay, not shoe. We don't have any shoes around. Okay, there's plenty of shoes around, but we don't have any. It's not the Be More Shoe. It's the Be More Show. Okay, look, welcome back in, y'all. I'm your host, DJ. I'm back once again. We're talking about these Baltimore Ravens, man, and we gotta jump right into. We gotta jump right into it. First things first. Hope y'all doing well. Hope y'all is doing y'all's thing. Hope y'all had a good week as we get back into another week of Baltimore Ravens coverage, opinions, conversation right here on the Be More Show. And I'm gonna let y'all know I'm very excited to be back once again to talk about these Baltimore Ravens. But let's just start with the game on Monday night. We gotta wait an extra day. All right, we gotta wait an extra day. I don't know how y'all feeling. I know for me, it's kind of weird. And I'm curious. Let me know down below. Let's go into some personal stories real quick. But it's funny, man. I feel like for me, as much as I love Monday night games, as much as I love Sunday night games, it's just one of those things where you just can't wait. You just can't wait. You ready? You ready. You got to watch all the other teams play, and I guess on the bright side, you get to watch the full red zone without having to worry about what the Ravens are doing. So that's kind of nice. I think that's the opposite end of the spectrum. But I know for me, as much as I love, like, don't get me wrong, I love Monday night games. I love Thursday night games. I love Sunday night games in terms of if the Ravens are playing, because it's one of those situations where you just get the chance to sit down and just watch your team on full display. Okay. Like, I mean, you get it every single week, but it's like, in prime time, the lights are the brightest, everybody's talking about these games for the most part. No matter who it ends up being against, everybody's talking about these games, and it's time to show up. So I think this thing just in the way today. Okay, look, I think man, I think coming into this game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm about to move it out of the way. I'm just going to move it. Look, coming into this game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's a trap game, man. I mean, I know Tampa Bay might just be in the top of the NFC South, right? I think they might, they're in the top of their division, but I don't know if that means anything. I'm trying to think, because I mean, I feel like either they're in the top or the Falcons are in the top. It's one of those two, and they might be tied. Honestly, they might be tied. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. They might be tied. Yeah, they're tied at 4-2 with Tampa Bay being 2-1. So technically, oh no, that's on the road. My fault. Atlanta's undefeated in the division, and Tampa Bay is 1-1 in the division. So right now, Atlanta technically holds the top spot, but they're tied at they're tied at the top of the division. So semi division leader with them, and then not quite. I mean, you got to go with the stats. So second place in the division versus first place in the division, and Baltimore, and it's going to be a tough task, I think, especially for this defense. And I think that's where we got to start. We got to start with this defense, man. We got to start with this defense. I think it's going to be a tough task for this defense because this defense has not played well. They've played, and I said it last week, they played kind of opportunistic. They've kind of just, they've forced turnovers when they needed to, but in terms of being a consistent, cohesive defense, it ain't been there, man. It ain't been there for them this season. And that's kind of the situation that the Ravens are in right now. The offense is this team, a team that's built on defense, built on running the ball, is really having to lean on running the ball, but also having to lean on the fact of being this kind of offensive led team now, right? They can't lean on the defense as much as they have been able to in the past. In the past, it was, I mean, it's like we knew the defense was going to be good. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I think the defense will get better as the year goes along. But right now, at this point in time, especially over the last couple games, this defense has not been that good. And I mean, this whole season, this defense has not been great. So the offense is having to pick up the slack a little bit. And honestly, we are not used to the offense having to pick up the slack. Now, it's nice to see that the offense can, but I'm a little concerned going in, especially with the talent that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have. But also, when you put aside the talent that the Buccaneers have, Baker Mayfield knows the Ravens defense. I mean, we of course remember Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, and I remember watching Baker dot the Ravens up over and over and over and over again for the Cleveland Browns. So that's another concern too. I think something makes me feel like the Ravens have played him since he's been in Tampa Bay, but maybe I'm wrong. It just for some reason feels like that. But Baker is a tough test for the Ravens defense. Right now, I feel like this is a good game for the Ravens to show that this defense isn't as bad as we might think it is, but this is a talented offense. Like it's funny, the NFC South circles, I feel like, talk about how talented the Falcons are, but the Buccaneers are just as talented, especially offensively. You got Bucky Irvin at running back. You got of course you got Mike Evans, who's always there, always consistent. Chris Godwin and those guys. Like, I mean, so the talent is there, but I think this Ravens defense, this is a moment where they can step up. If that makes sense. I think this is a moment where the Ravens can step up and show that their defense may not be what it was last year, but their defense still has potential, right? Still, their defense still has potential, and that and shout out to Hendo for coming by. I appreciate you for coming by. He said their offense will be a problem, and I agree. I think this could be one of those shootout type of games, especially from what we've seen from this Ravens defense as of late. This could possibly be a shootout type of game, or it might have to be forced to be a shootout type of a game. And I mean, and that's the thing. Baker with a couple of guys was in Cleveland was a problem for this defense. So I can truly feel like Baker could be a problem for this defense now, especially the way that they're playing currently. I mean, this could be a shootout. And the other question is, can the Ravens offense continue to keep up? Like, can they keep, they're at a certain stride right now, and they just gonna have to keep that up. I mean, that's a question for you all. That's a question that needs to be asked in the Raven circles, is like, can this offense keep up? Like, we going into trade talks, we going into trade discussions a little bit later in the show, and it's one of those situations where it's like, do the Ravens have enough? I'll let y'all hold on to that, and I'll let y'all chew on that for a little bit. But right now, I mean, I think this offense is clicking. I think, and I've talked about it before. I think this offense is borderline unstoppable when they're playing at the level that they're playing, just because of the level in which you have to defend. But I think at the same time, this, the the key is you're gonna have to lean on this offense. You're gonna have to lean on this offense, and this offense is gonna have to be really good and borderline perfect. The way that this defense is playing right now, this offense is gonna have to not turn the ball over, not put their defense in bad situations, and that's gonna be a big thing coming up with in this game, especially with a defense as talented as Tampa Bay. I know they've taken a step back statistically. I know they've taken a step back in terms of how good they're actually playing, but talent wise, they're there. They're just not really putting it together right now. So I think the Ravens offense is going to have to continue to show that they are consistent. They're gonna have to continue to show that they are the catalyst of this team. They are kind of the anchor to this team right now. Continue to lean on the run game with Derrick Henry. Like I said, the thing I love about Derrick Henry is he's shown that he don't have to necessarily be that guy the whole game, but he gonna get you one. He gonna get you one. Like he might not have 17 yards, but that 25, 30, 40, 50 yarder is coming. And I think that's like I said, it's a good thing to have future Hall of Famers on your team because especially on offense, and this is something that I think is good too. The fact that the Ravens have those guys on offense right now is huge. I think that's a big thing. I think the fact that the Ravens have those guys on offense is huge right now. They have those guys who we know can take over a game if need be. And for once, it's not just Lamar having to be that guy. And I think coming into this game, I think I honestly expect it to be kind of a little bit of a shootout. Um, I just think that the Ravens will overall prevail because, you know, I think the Ravens I don't know if I've seen the Ravens offense be this confident. I think that's another thing. Like the Ravens offense hasn't felt this confident in a while. Whereas like even if they get down in the game, they're not pressing. That was one of the things that we talked about for years about this offense. And of course, we hope that it lends its hand to later on in the postseason. But right now, in situations where they could press and they could be frustrated and they could get in their head, they don't. Right? They got veteran leadership on that side. Of course, Lamar has had time to continue to mature as a leader. Derrick Henry, I think he probably brings some sort of calmness to this team. And I think this is probably some of the most success that he's seen in his career too. So in terms of wins is what I'm saying, in terms of records. So I think that's another part of it too. I think having veteran guys on this team, even some of the guys who kind of had to grow up on the spot, had to grow up in the on the field. I think that's big, and I think honestly, I think the Ravens could handle this game kind of like they do a business trip, right? And come in, blow the roof off the place, and be done. But considering how the defense is playing right now, that continues to be my concern. I can't say that the Ravens are going to win big when the defense can't get off the field. So that's one of my biggest problems right now with this Ravens team. Now, will they get better? History shows probably, right? History shows more than likely they'll be fine. But right now, it's on the offense, and I think the offense is playing uh, at a very good level right now. I think the offense is playing at a level that honestly is you should be happy about it if you're a Ravens fan. I think it could, and I think I don't think they I don't think they have hit their peak, right? Which is another good thing. The fact that the Ravens haven't hit their peak offensively means there's still some room to grow. Whether that be you make a trade and that's your room to grow, or you continue to grow and continue to find where these pieces go, and that's your room to grow. I think the Ravens have room to grow, and I think they can beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week, and have a good week on prime time, and really continue to cement themselves as the top team in this league. And I mean, they for the last couple of weeks they played like it, so they gotta keep it up. They gotta continue it. But next up, let's talk about Mark Andrews. All right, let's talk about Mark Andrews. Is Mark Andrews being forgotten about, right? Is Mark Andrews underrated? It's funny. I heard this a couple weeks ago. I know Tony Romo had mentioned it. Honestly, was it a couple weeks ago or was it last week? It might have been last week. It might have been last week with the Commanders game. Okay, it was last week. I felt like it was a couple weeks ago, but it was last week. So Tony Romo, he had mentioned, he said, hey, like, this guy, don't forget about Mark Andrews. It's basically kind of what he said. He was like, don't forget about Mark Andrews, because he is a guy you can't, you can't let Mark Andrews get out of your head, because as soon as he does, he's gonna make you pay, right? As soon as he does, as soon as he's out of your head, he's gonna make you pay. And last week, of course, we saw the play here where a couple plays later, he ended up making a couple big catches, and then he ended up being the guy who would catch the touchdown pass, and I think it was in this drive too. So, I think Mark is finally. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Mark is finally getting healthy. I think Mark is finally getting healthy. I think he's finally finding himself in a healthy spot. I think the car accident that happened earlier, in the off season, I feel like honestly was a bigger deal. And then we know John Harbaugh ain't gonna say much of nothing, but I think it honestly was a bigger deal than anybody thought it was. I think I don't think Mark Andrews has been healthy this season so far. To be honest with y'all, I don't. That's my opinion. Like I don't think he's been healthy, and I think that's why he's been limited. I think that's why I think shout out to Isaiah Likely for stepping up, right? But I honestly don't think he has been healthy this whole season. Um, and I think it honestly gets you thinking, man. It gets you thinking about what this offense could be with Likely and Andrews on the field at the same time. Um, Especially, I don't want to say if you want to phase out Aguilar, but if you want to utilize those two on the field at the same time a little bit more, as opposed to having Aguilar on the field. I mean, like I said, I think Aguilar is a good possession guy, right? I think he's a good, when he's always been kind of the guy, at least for the Ravens, when you need him, he'll show up. When you need him, he'll show up. Now, do I think they could have a better guy in that spot? Yeah. Is Likely that guy? I don't know. I don't know, because I think Likely is a good receiver. I think Likely has good hands. I think Likely is good after the catch, better than Mark Andrews after the catch. He's more wiggly, for lack of a better term, after the catch. But I don't know if I would rather see Likely in any sort of receiver role. I think he's a tight end for a reason. Um, it begs the question: should they trade Mark Andrews? Maybe, right? It might beg that question. It might make you think of that. And shout out to Nick Mason, who had posted the video that we were just watching. He had retweeted it, or posted on his page, and he said, trade him. They said he's past his best. Many began to wonder. Once more, Mark Andrews is starting to look like his old self. The Baltimore Ravens are stacked at tight end. It doesn't matter what position on the depth chart, they're all performing. He's back. And honestly, I feel like he's, especially last week against the Commanders, I think he played well. I think he played well. I think he's getting back to where he wants to be. And to me, I feel like he is he is, like I said, getting back healthy again. I think that's the biggest thing. Honestly, I think the biggest thing is him getting back healthy again. Um, and I think, like, could the Ravens use another weapon? We'll talk about it later on the show. I'll let y'all marinate on that one too. But I mean, I think right now that the offense is playing well, right? The offense is playing well. Mark Andrews is finding his way. And back to the original question at hand: is Mark Andrews overrated? Is Mark Andrews underrated? I'd say no, right? I don't think Mark Andrews is underrated. I think he's rated about on par to where he needs to be. Because I mean, honestly, if we're gonna be honest about it, I don't. I mean, he's probably what, the number 2 or number 3 tight end in the league, and he's respected as that probably by pretty much everybody. I mean, Kittle, Kelsey, and him, like, that's the, you know, for lack of a better term, that's the big three right now in the NFL when it comes to tight ends. And I mean, honestly, there's not a lot of guys you think of after that. To be honest, those three, you know, those three are kind of in a tier of their own. Like they are the kind of three elite tight ends. There's guys with potential. You know, there's Fryermuth who's played well. There's Dawson Knox who's played well. There's Kyle Pitts who's shown potential, right, and kind of has a little bit of name value. But for the most part, those three guys are the three that people think of when they think about tight ends in this league. Those are the three people think of. I mean, Brock Bowers has played well too. You know, Brock Bowers is another guy who's played well. Um, you know, he's played really well when it comes to, you know, but he's a rookie in the league, so you're not gonna put him at top tight end status yet. Sam Laporta, of course, is another guy who I think has continued to etch his name in that. But I mean, honestly, like I said, I mean, I think he's evenly rated, right? I mean, I mean, I don't know if I should say this, but borderline, you could say Mark Andrews, if you want to, you could say Mark Andrews is a little overrated sometimes, right? Because Mark Andrews does have his inconsistencies. And as much as I love him as a player, and I think he is one of the best tight ends in the league, I think he is at least two. Because I think George Kittle has these inconsistencies too, but I think a lot of George Kittle's inconsistencies come with health, not necessarily his play. And I mean, I think that's the closest you can get to rating him over or under. I think you'd have to say he might be closer to overrated than underrated, but I wouldn't say that in the fact of even necessarily being disrespectful. I'm saying that in the fact of he he has his games where he just isn't there, right? He has his games where he's not at that Travis Kelce level. He has these games where he's not at George Kittle's level, and I honestly can't say that those other two guys that's in that big three have those type of games. If we're just gonna be honest about it. Now, am I glad that Mark Andrews is on this team? Yes. Am I glad that Mark Andrews gets the targets that he gets? Yes. But interestingly enough, the offense has gotten better, even in contrast to Mark Andrews playing not as well. Now, I mean, I think his offense continues to get better as he continues to find his way. But I mean, what can you say? I mean, I think, like I said, I mean, it. I know I've heard a lot of people mention potentially trading him. Even Nick said it in his tweet. Like, they kind of said trade him. You should trade him. I don't necessarily. I mean, it's one of those situations. I think you are at a opportunistic point as a GM where you got a guy who is an elite tight end in this league, but you got a guy behind him who's shown potential of being just as good, and it makes that decision a little harder, right? I think it makes that decision a little harder now, albeit do I think the Ravens are going to trade Mark Andrews? No. He's the best tight end the Ravens have had since Todd Heap statistically. And I mean, the last great tight end the Ravens had was Dennis Pitta. So, like, it's not like I don't think they're going to trade him. I think that's all. I think that's fan speak. I think trading Mark Andrews is fan speak. I think saying that Mark Andrews, I don't think the Ravens. I don't think the Ravens feel like Mark Andrews is past his prime, needs to be traded, needs to be gone, needs to not be on this team. I think they feel like he has a role in this team. And I think honestly, and I've talked about this before with Todd Monken, I think Todd Monken does a good job of incorporating them both. I think Todd Monken does a great job of incorporating both Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. Now, sometimes, do you lose a little bit of speed if you don't have receivers on the field? Maybe, but I mean, we talked about it before. Tight ends are just as fast as some receivers at times. So, I mean, it's one of those situations where I'm like, would I rather have Nelson Aguilar on the field or would I rather have Isaiah Likely on the field with Mark Andrews? You know, like that's the thing. Like I feel like for me personally, just me talking from pure opinion, I'd rather have Isaiah Likely. You know, I think Isaiah Likely has proven time and time again that yards after the catch is his thing. And I think with Mark Andrews, you know, I think with Mark Andrews, you see, I think you're gonna always see Mark Andrews continue to be successful. He's going to find, he's gonna find his way. He's gonna find his way open. He's always gonna be a security blanket for Lamar. And I think like as this offense gets better, as Lamar continues to spread the ball around, I think Mark Andrews just adds to this offense. Right. I'm not saying that I feel like Mark Andrews is overrated. I'm saying that I think that there is a possibility that people could say you could say that before you say the other. That's just me. But anywho, so I know that the touchdown that Mark Andrews had in the game against Washington, Bobby Trossett had put it out there that basically saying that it's his 41st in his career, tying Todd Heap for the most. Let me make sure I bring that up so y'all can see that too. But that's a little bit small for y'all. But I remember, I know that was a thing, right? I mean, and that's big. I mean, I think honestly, Mark Andrews is probably, and especially if he keeps the pace that he's at, I mean, he's probably a Hall of Fame tight end too. Like he's probably a future Hall of Famer. Because of how he's played, because of his consistency, he's been there. He's been there. Shout out to Justin. He said Chiefs Chicken has arrived. All right, okay. Shout out to Chiefs Kingdom. They can come in too. They can come in and talk too. Okay, y'all got more room to talk than anybody right now. Y'all undefeated. Okay, y'all can talk. Y'all can talk that talk right now. But shout out to Justin. Go check him out as well. Him and Road Pod. Check out both of those. Justin for your Chiefs content, Road Pod for your Ravens content. All right, look. I honestly just to wrap up this Mark Andrews conversation, unless there's a crazy trade package for him, I don't see him going nowhere. Honestly, I don't think I would be shocked if he did, but I just don't see it happening. I think, the Ravens are very loyal to their players. And I've heard this a lot in spaces. I've heard this a lot, and then of course, just knowing, being a Ravens fan, you understand. Like the Ravens are very loyal to their players, and I don't feel like the Ravens, especially if you are an integral part of what the Ravens do, I don't see you going anywhere. I really don't. Like in the same breath, like I don't see a Justice Hill trade coming up soon, or nothing like that. Like I wouldn't see Justice Hill going anywhere either. So, so that's the other part of it, man. Like it's one of those situations where it's like, it could happen, but I personally don't think that it will. Lastly, let's talk about this last topic. Who should the Ravens trade for? Now, look, I know. Look, y'all fast with it down there. I know y'all already in the comments. Y'all got about 8 people that the Ravens should trade for to make themselves better. First things first, I do want to ask, should the Ravens trade for anybody? Are the Ravens good? Are they good as they are? Right? That's a question to be had. That's a question for y'all in the comment section below. I will answer that. I think you can never have too much talent, y'all. Like let's be honest. I don't care how good this offense is clicking. I don't care if the defense was clicking well. Like, the Ravens had an elite defense before Roquan Smith came, but they still traded for Roquan Smith, right? We've seen in the past the Eagles have had elite offenses and then turn around and trade for other people, right? The Browns have been locked up into a contract with Deshaun Watson where they couldn't get any weapons, so they say. And they still found a way to get some sort of help for their quarterback regardless. So no matter, and I mean, this is the same team that had Jarvis Landry and OBJ on the same team, right? This is the same team that found a way to trade for Amari Cooper. Now That's a little different now. It's not the same, you can't say that anymore. I mean, they still traded for him, but he's not on the team anymore. But still, like, the Bills. Let's talk about the Bills. The Bills offense, for the most part this season, more than not, has been pretty good. But they went out and traded, speaking of, for Amari Cooper, right? They went out and traded for Amari Cooper and said, you know what? This guy's going to help our offense. We're going to go grab him, right? And Amari Cooper has been an elite receiver for practically as long as he's healthy for his entire career. So, do the Ravens need anything? Like I said, I don't think you can ever have too much talent. I think, like I said before, and it goes back to it again, I like Nelson Agholor. I do, right? I do. I like Nelson Agholor. But I've always felt like somebody else would probably fill that spot better. Now, I thought it was going to be Tez Walker, but the Ravens and playing rookies, John Harbaugh's not going to do that. So, so there's no, like, why he was drafted. That's a whole nother question. Look, anyway, my thing is, I feel like somebody in the role that Nelly is in could fit better. And for me, before I get into some of the potential people that that people are talking, that not only the Ravens flock is talking about, but also the Baltimore Ravens have kind of their media team has pushed out some guys that could be possible too. I feel like offensively, I mean, Devontae Adams would have been a good one. You need that big. I still feel like that big body receiver would be nice, right? That big body guy that you could go, that you could you could just throw the ball up to, and he gonna make defenses pay. That's me. That's how I feel, right? That's how I feel. The big body guy that is kind of the guy you could grab, right? I think the big body guy is the guy. Secondary, I could agree with that. Now, is there going to be some questioning Ravens fans if you get help at secondary, but you don't get one more guy to put you over the top offensively? Maybe, but I mean, secondary is good too. I'm trying to think. Do I have anybody in mind? I don't have anybody in mind, but I wouldn't be mad about. I don't think I'd be mad about somebody in the secondary. Honestly, and I commend I commend Ojabo and I commend Owe for how they played so far, but I wouldn't be mad about an edge rusher. To be honest, honestly, I think if the Ravens got more sacks, I think the secondary would play better. I do, because I mean, I feel like they're right there. Like they're right there. Some of these plays have been plays where, hey, they've been on them, but the throw was too good or whatever it was. But if you get pressure on on the QB, and I just don't think they're getting the pressure that they were. Shout out to Ravens Talk with Yolanda. Shout out to Yolanda B. Appreciate you for coming by too. Make sure you check her out as well. But I agree, and the secondary, I think it's good too. So I mean, I think I think you can always use a trade. You can always use a trade. There ain't never too much, and that's offensively and defensively. There's a reason why you trade for Roquan. There's a reason why you trade for Marcus Peters, and there's a reason why it's a domino effect, and your team gets better because of it. There's a reason why the Ravens supposedly, believe what you want, were in the sweepstakes to try to trade for Derrick Henry last year, because they understood, like, this guy could put us over the top. And as we've seen, he's obviously a guy who could. No doubt, no way. you gonna get you gonna get Yolanda stirred up now. No doubt, no way. But I mean, on that point, if you bring back a guy who is possibly an elite pass rusher, I've even seen people talk about like Clowney, right? Like bringing back Clowney or something like that. Like, now, would I want somebody else? Maybe, possibly, right? I wouldn't necessarily mind Clowney. I wouldn't necessarily mind Clowney, but I think if you can take some of the pressure off of Owe, especially, I think it would be good because I think Owe is one of those guys. I think Owe is one of those guys where you can kind of put him out of position. You can let him blitz. You can let him use his speed, and he's one of those utility piece guys more than I think he is a pure pass rusher. I think he's more. Oh, don't get mad at me when I say this, especially you, Hendo. But I think he's more of a playmaker than he would be like a pure pass rusher, right? Like I think he would be more of a playmaker. Like if you just let him loose and let him kind of just do his thing, that's when I think he's at his best. When there's not a lot of pressure on him, that's when he can make the game sealing play. That's when he can make force a fumble. That I think, but I would love to see some of the pressure be taken off of him. To be honest with you, because I think it would do him some good. I think, and honestly, I think he's played better this season than we've seen probably over the past 2 or 3 seasons. Right? I think he's played a little better. I think he's shown. I think he's shown more promise this season. I mean, I think there was a lot of us that was kind of like, don't know about this guy, to be honest with y'all. I don't know. Like, it might be time to move on. But I think especially, having Odrabo on the other side, I think has helped him too. And that's another guy I want to take some pressure off of, especially as he continues to get healthy. Right, I think he's at the healthiest he's been in a couple years. But as he continues to get healthy and just get back into game shape, I think it would be nice to have, just some rotational pieces. You can get an elite guy, but take a little pressure off of the guys you got. But I want to slip into this article real quick that the Ravens did put out about this. Just give you guys thoughts on this too. Talking about the potential trade targets. So of course the Jets went ahead and grabbed Devontae Adams. The Bills grabbed Amari Cooper, as we talked about earlier. Hassan Reddick is a possible guy that the Ravens could bring in. I don't think the Eagles are very happy with Hassan Reddick right now, but that's I don't think it could hurt. I don't think it could hurt. Jadeveon Clowney, I think is a good one. Jadeveon Clowney, honestly, I really do. I really do think is a good one. To bring him back, I think they should have brought him back anyway, just to have more pass rushers in the room. I think would have been good. Jonathan Jones, quarterback for the New England Patriots, I think that would be good too. Honestly, I mean, I think having more depth can never hurt you. I think Marlon and Nate Wiggins are playing well right now. Honestly, I think Brandon Stevens is kind of the weakest link of it, but at the same time, I mean, I think pass rush is going to help more than a corner. For me, I know Marcus Williams ain't necessarily playing as well as you would hope that he would. So that's another part of it too. Like Marcus Williams not playing as well, you lose Geno Stone, and then I expected better, much more out of Marcus Williams. I think he's felt like he's been out of position. He's felt a little slow lately. So, I mean, will it get better? I think it could. And then I really like this one at the bottom, DeAndre Hopkins, because I think when you have Zay Flowers and even when you have Rashad Bateman, I think the credit, I think he deserves a little credit too. When you have Zay Flowers, when you have Rashad Bateman, honestly, I think that takes pressure off of DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins can be that guy to go steal everybody's touchdowns pretty much, right? Like, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins comes in, he'll probably make everybody mad in fantasy, but I feel like he would be a good option because he gives you that big body receiver, great hands, can get open, and he gives you that kind of security blanket outside of the tight end, right? I mean, imagine how much, especially in the passing game, you would have to focus on if you got to focus on DeAndre Hopkins, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell when he comes back. Like, I mean, it just becomes more and more dangerous. This offense is dangerous as is. It becomes more and more dangerous the more and more pieces you add. And that's why teams continue to add pieces, right? That's why Cincinnati's offense has been so electrifying in the past couple of years. Is because of the amount of talent they have. Same thing with the Eagles, right? And with the talent that the Ravens have, I mean, once again, we talk about unstoppable now. I could only imagine you add an extra receiver, an extra guy to come in and make those. Well, we might have to call him Terry McLaurin type catches the way he caught the ball last week, but those Anquan Bolden type catches, right? The Ravens have been missing that for a while, and unless Bateman's going to become that guy, I mean, I don't think it hurts, especially if you add in a veteran guy, because that still lets Bateman continue to develop, right? That don't kill Bateman's confidence if you bring in DeAndre Hopkins, right? I personally don't believe. I think I had another. See if I can find. I think I had another. Okay, Jack Settleman had put something out too, real quick, and this will be the last one I'll wrap up. But Jack Settleman had put something out too about potential trade targets, and just what he thought, what he thought about trade targets, and what I was like, let's talk about it for a little bit. So Jack Settleman has said Ravens trade deadline moves if I were the GM. So if y'all were the GM, let me know down below what you would do. But this is what he would do. So number one, he says Zadarius Smith or Jadeveon Clowney. And more likely Clowney would be the option just because of, things, tampering within the division. Okay. So I think this is a good two. I think both of those will be good. I don't know what it is. The Ravens just can't find Zadarius Smith back. All right. They cannot find this man back. All right. They cannot get this man back. But Zadarius Smith, honestly, I mean, I think Clowney, like I said, I talked about Clowney before. Clowney would be a good one to bring back. I've heard a lot of people mention Max Crosby. It's been a while since the Ravens have had an elite pass rusher, so I would not be mad about Max Crosby, right? I mean, this is what we've been looking for since Judon, right? Has been kind of an elite guy. And you say what you want to about Judon, but he's been the best pass rusher we've had. I mean, if you talk about when he was here and then after he's been here, he's been the best guy, right? He's been the best guy. So there's that. He said number two, he said D-Hop or D-Hop for a fifth or Mike Williams if he's cut. Been down for go up and get a type guy. I agree with that. I agree with that. And I like the point he made too. Kind of those intangibles, right? Kind of those things that not everybody has. He's a big body guy, so he can also block, right? So talking about Mike Williams. So I mean, now Mike Williams, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Once again, and once again, it's we talking about pressure, right? We talking about a guy who he don't have to be the guy, right? We need him to make big catches, not be the guy, right? I think Zay is the guy, but we need somebody that can come in and make big catches, and Mike Williams can do that. Like I said, out of those two guys, I'd rather have D-Hop. That's just me. I've always wanted D-Hop on this team. Always wanted D-Hop on this team. I know he says Buda Baker is not is a dream that's not really realistic. He don't feel like safety is a move that you can realistically make. I don't see them making a safety move. I don't. EJ Speed for half a season for a rental at depth at linebacker. Like I said, I mean, I think my biggest thing is I think my biggest thing I would love to see is pass rusher. Pass rusher. That's what I want to see. I want to see pass rusher. I want to see. I would love to see an elite pass rusher to take some pressure off of, if we're talking defensively, take some pressure off of the guys we already have, who I honestly think are playing well. Offensively, I would love to see a receiver, right? I love to see D-Hop. I mean, I think D-Hop, honestly. I mean, and like I said, Crosby defensively would be a dream. Get them both. What you need the picks for? What you need the picks for? They're just gonna be Tez Walker sitting on the bench, just waiting to finally possibly make a splash if he can. So like, what you need the picks for? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the picks. Don't worry. EDC. You know what the Rams said. All right, I ain't gonna repeat it, but you know what the Rams said. They said the picks. You just You just take them out. You don't need the picks. What you need the picks for? You need Super Bowls. Picks versus Super Bowls. You want Super Bowls. That's what they said. All right, that's what they said, and they got one out of it. So I would like one myself. As a fan, Yolanda B, she like one. As a fan, my boy Hendo over there, he would like one. As a fan, a Super Bowl. Two. I mean, we take two. You know what? We'll take for at least the number of people that commented throughout the live stream. We'll take four of them. All right. Even Justin wants one for the Ravens. Okay. Even Justin wants one for the Ravens. He won't admit it. But he want to see Lamar Jackson hoisting Lombardi. Patrick has had enough. All right. Patrick has enough. He can't even lift his hand up no more. He got too many. All right. Let's get Lamar Jackson in there a couple of times. All right. Let's reignite this rivalry. And we good. All right. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. Remember that the Be More Show is on all major podcasting platforms. Like I'm sure where you look to find Rogue Pod, where you look to find my good friend over there, Yolanda B. Look, okay, like we there. We look to find the Juggernaut Show. We are there. Ravens Talk with Yolanda B. Look, hey, I'm telling y'all, set up y'all's queue. Y'all can have the greatest sportscast y'all ever had, right? The greatest sportscast y'all ever had. But I definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. Remember that the Be More Show is on all major podcast platforms. I'm talking about every single one of them you can think of, and a couple you can't, because it's so many now, right? It's so many now. A couple of them you can't think. But I definitely hope you guys enjoy the show. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I appreciate my live commenters as well, just creating more and more discussion throughout this show. Definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll see you guys on the next episode of the Be More